Hey everybody, this is Raccoon Rambles. If you don't know, my name is Brendan and I post a lot of nature videos and I also work as a mental toughness coach. And tonight we're gonna go outside, we're gonna see who's out there, and we're gonna feed the raccoons, and we're gonna have some very inspiring and motivating conversations. Eggs are on the menu tonight as well as some other things. Are you ready? Let's see who's out there. Welcome to Raccoon Rambles. Tonight, I want to start off with a really inspiring story from Anthony DeMello in the book Awareness. So a farmer found an eagle's egg and he didn't know what to do with it. So he put it with the barnyard chickens. And the eagle hatched and grew up thinking it was a chicken. It would cluck at the ground, and it would go around eating insects. It would thrash its wings and fly a few feet. And then years passed. One day the eagle was really old and he looked up into the sky above and he saw an eagle soaring in an upward rising thermal. And he turned to his neighboring chicken and he said, "Wow, what's that?" And the chicken beside him said, "Oh, that's an eagle. They're meant for the skies. But you and I, we're just chickens, and we're meant to stay down here on the ground where we belong." So the eagle lived and died the rest of its days as a chicken because that's all he thought he was. Something to think about. And why don't you take that? She knows what to do with it. So tonight's conversation is going to be all about external validation, seeking the approval of others, and struggling with our sense of self-worth, and the correctives of perspectives that can be healing medicine for all of that. So there's 3 key life-changing attitude shifts we're going to talk about tonight. And the first attitude shift we need to discuss is, who should determine our value? Other people or ourselves? External or internal validation? Let's think about the cost-benefit analysis of both, because in business, that's something they do. It's intelligent to know the cost-benefit analysis of your decisions. And I think we should be intentional on deciding this. So when it comes to external validation, why is it overrated? Not everybody has the skill to see our value, do they? So if we're depending on other people to determine our worth, sometimes we won't get it when we deserve it. And what could be even worse at times is sometimes we get external validation when we don't deserve it. People are flattering us insincerely, or sucking up to us and making us think we're better than we are. Also in society, there's a lot of things that are popular that probably aren't that great. Think about, some of the celebrities who are popular for all the wrong reasons, that they said or did something bad, and now they're very popular. Think about shady politicians, right? Is popularity a good success indicator for being a human being? And no matter how good you are, everybody tends to have haters. There's a lot of psychologically damaged people out there and a lot of irrational reasons that they negatively judge others. True or false? Some people think that your success equals their failure. For those who have envy and jealousy, it's true. And so they're always going to find irrational ways to dislike you and negative angles about you. It's almost like this world is a bit of an insane asylum when you think about all the things that are popular out there. And if we're seeking external validation, we're really caring about what an insane asylum thinks about us. Now, some people might argue, well, do you need some external validation? And the truth is, we may benefit from external support, external inspiration about our value. That can always be beneficial. But as long as we are prioritizing external validation instead of internal validation, we're setting ourselves up for torture, because it's going to be a drug fix. You're always going to need your next fix, people to tell you how good you are, because you're not able to do that for yourself. So it's a hollow victory. Now, one of the things we want to consider is, what are the advantages if you decide what your worth and value is? If you decide you own your worth and value, you get more independent decision making, less anxiety and pressure and stress. You can own who you are, more confidence. Failure becomes less painful if you own your value. You're not compromising your principles to please people. Because ultimately, a lot of what this comes down to is being true to principles instead of being true to people's opinions and seeking being in their good opinion. If you hand over your self-worth and you let the outside world decide what it is, that's like taking one of the most precious things you have. Like, let's say there's an expensive antique vase or something, and it's like handing it to a drunk person, because so many people here just don't know your full story. They can't judge your worth, and they judge you on so many superficial, inappropriate factors. And if you are a person that's always seeking the validation of other people, I want you to see your own innocence in the matter. That you were trained to think that way. How many of you were ever told that you were an A student, or a B student, or a C student? Were you ever told that? A? Boop. Well, early on, just the wording people use tends to hinge your worth to your performance, your worth and value, with a lot of that language. So you're innocent. You've been raised in a society that has conditioned you to think that way. So we want a good mantra or one-liner that you can go back to help you create healthy detachment to external validation. Healthy detachment to it. You can decide external validation is a hollow victory. Right? 1 minute people love you, the next minute they hate you. Look at, they love to put things on a pedestal and knock them down. You know, they used to love, well, what are you getting into over there? I think she's actually after this. The apple. Do you want this? Okay, I'll cut it up for you. It's probably going to be hard for you to eat. Oh, here you go. You want that? Apple slices. Okay, she's going to eat some apple slices. Here's another raccoon. You can have some apple slices too. You might decide that other people aren't qualified to judge your worth. You might decide external validation is like a drug addiction. You always need your next fix. You might decide that, why do I care what an insane asylum thinks of me? So you want to pick a reminder that works for you. That's category number one. We need to decide that we determine our value, not other people. Here you go. Category number two. Should we base our value on our performance or our potential? Should we base it on a fixed or a growth mindset? Imagine I hand you an apple seed. There you go, you can have the rest of the apple. Imagine I hand you an apple seed and you have a wide open farm field, nothing growing on it yet. and I hand you that seed, does it have value to you? Yes or no? If you're a farmer, oh my goodness. Somebody got into the shelled peanuts. That's okay, sweetheart. It's all for you. Okay. Of course that was going to happen. I got too many raccoons to keep an eye on. Come on. Okay. So if somebody hands you an apple seed and you're a farmer and you have an empty farm field, does it have value? Why does it have value? It has value because of what it can grow into, right? It's not doing anything in the moment, but it could create an apple tree, which creates more apples, which create more apple trees, so it can create goodness and even more goodness, and it can all ripple out. So I want to submit to you that we shouldn't judge ourselves in the moment, because it's not where we are, it's where we're going. Just like an apple seed, even if you're not doing much in your life right now, you still have the potential to create goodness. You still have the potential to bear fruit down the road. We're basing our value on performance. That leads to what's called the achiever's curse, where you're always trying to do more and more and it's never enough. We always want to remember that just like an apple seed, what we ultimately grow into is what our ultimate worth is. You still have value, even if you're just in a low period right now. The next point is this. What is our highest potential? This is an attitude shift we need to have. And I want you to think back to the chicken and eagle story at the beginning. Okay? What is our highest potential? Come here, sweetie. I want you to think about the all-time MVP of humanity. In your opinion, who has done the best ever job of living a human life? Now, you might think of a philosopher, a spiritual teacher. You might think of an inventor. Maybe you think of an athlete or somebody. You might think of somebody who excels at a skill you admire, or you might think of somebody closer to home, maybe a friend or family member that exudes loving kindness and wisdom and virtue. For many people, it might be a spiritual role model, a spiritual master. I want you to think about that humanity's MVP. Who is it for you? Throw it into the chat. I'm curious to see what people say on this. Now I want you to envision this. It's a little bit of a meditation drill for you. You can close your eyes. Imagine this. Imagine you go to sleep at night, and instead of going into dreamland, you literally enter another dimension, and you know it's real. You're very awake and conscious. You're like, I'm really here right now. This is real. I'm in this alternate dimension. And I want you to imagine that in this alternate dimension, you're walking along the grass and then you come to a small schoolhouse. Now, standing outside that schoolhouse is the person you named as humanity's MVP. And I want you to imagine that in this other dimension, they forgot who they were back on Earth. What might you say to them to try to trigger their memory? What might you remind them about the qualities they expressed in their life and the things they did. Throw it into the chat. What would you say to them to try to help them remember? What would you say to them? Now I want you to imagine that they look you right in the eyes, piercing your soul. And with a knowing glance, they say to you, yeah, I know who I am. But just as though I had forgotten who I am, you have still forgotten who you really are. Something to think about. Chicken and eagle. Now I want you to think about what your name is. What is your name? What is your name? You know, you might say my name is Brendan Fox, but that's actually not true. That was a rumor my parents started, and they put it on that birth certificate to make it a really convincing rumor, but it's not true. Brendan Fox, as my name, is chicken thinking. I'm relating to my human nature, chicken identity, rather than divine nature, eagle identity. Question 2, who are your parents? Who are your parents? Now, if it's me, I might say Bill and Denise. But it's not really true either. They didn't really create me and design me, pick out my eye color and my hair color and my personality qualities. They facilitated my entry into this dimension, but when I was born, I was just as much a surprise to them as anything, right? And I would submit the same is true for you. So, one thing you might consider is whatever your conception of God is, whether it's Allah, Mother Nature, Universe, Source, Brahman, Elohim, whatever word you want to use for it, one God by many different names. So let's just call it that. I'm going to encourage you to think of yourself as a child of God, the Creator, before and beyond your parents. What is God's potential? And I'm just going to use the term God for convenience. Can God be 10 out of 10 creative? Well, of course. My goodness, the Creator, right? Can God be 10 out of 10 loving? 10 out of 10 patient? 10 out of 10 resourceful? Rather than thinking of yourself as a child of your parents, with your parents' inherited potential, I'd encourage you to think of yourself as a child of God with God's inherited potential that's able to manifest through you. Now, whoever you said was humanity's MVP, I would submit to you that whatever qualities you admired in them, whatever strengths of character, whether it was that they had determination, or they had persistence, or they had kindness, or they had wisdom, or that they helped other people. Whatever it is you admired about them was actually a projection of your own higher potential. Just like them, you have the potential to be 10 out of 10 loving. Maybe not all the time yet, but there have been moments and the potential certainly is there. Like an apple seed, you can grow into it. Just like them, you have the potential to be 10 out of 10 wise at times. There's been times in your life when you were 10 out of 10 wise. Just like them, you can be 10 out of 10 patient at times. 10 out of 10 creative. You can be what you need to be when you need to be it, just like they did. They were just expressing and reflecting your same innate potential. Baby, baby, baby. Something to think about. And this potential is untouched by the outside world. Just think of it like this. Imagine there was a golden nugget and I covered it in mud. Does that golden nugget still have value? Yeah, you can just clean off that mud and it can shine bright again. Same thing with you. You know, we get all these negative judgments and these all confusing ideas on our worth in our head. But we can clean that stuff off and shine our brilliance. You've been golden in the past. You're golden right now and you can be golden in the future. So you might hear, I think there's some coyotes or foxes in the background. We can hear them yelling. And the raccoons just got spooked. But there's a coyote or a fox out there yelling. I'm not sure if you can hear it. It's a really creepy sound. Anyways, on that note, we should probably wrap up. So, I want you to think about these perspectives. That you decide your value, not others. That you do it based on your potential, not based on your performance. Because all that matters is where you're going, not where you are. And that your potential is basically God's potential working through you as a child of God. As an expression made in the image of God. That you can be 10 out of 10 on every character virtue. You've got that potential in you. And if you stay in touch with these insights and you memorize them and repeat them, it can be healing medicine for a struggling sense of self-worth. This conversation is called the Golden Nugget, and I really honor and respect that you did not run away like the raccoons did. It's been an honor having this raccoon feeding rally with you tonight. Let me know if there's any topics you want me to cover in future. Rooting for you in the game of life. Love you forever.